Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 46 of the D.M.C podcast with your hosts today, mild-mannered reporter for a metropolitan newspaper by day and Alka-Seltzer for the soul by night. It's me, Adam Rigby, and my very special guest today, an icon and true legend of health and fitness. He's a husband, father, entrepreneur, entertainer, musician, and author, to name but a few of his professions, but also intense passions. He's authentic, he's energetic, he's effervescent, and he's unrivaled in enthusiasm. He's the incredible force of nature, Mr. Bevan James Eyles. Bro.
I think you've undersold me.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I had to edit it down. We've got limited time on the podcast.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you away with that.
Yeah, I noticed your doorways are always wider at the top in your place. I don't know, is that and humble. I forgot to say, and humble.
And humble.
Mate, how are you?
I'm really good, actually. Yep, I'm really good. I'm very busy in my life right now, but for really good reasons.
Yeah, fantastic. I've been meaning to catch up with you for a while, obviously, and in terms of people that have impacted my journey in health and fitness, and certainly I put you at the top of the list. Like, every encounter I found with you was just food for the soul. Just the inspiration, the amount of energy and intense passion you have for what you do, and how that rubs off on everybody. I have firm memories of doing my first module, for which you and Amy Styles were part of, and you back in the day, you kicked the absolute living shit out of us in the physical intensity, but you were the guy that always stood at the door. And that's one thing I took with me on my fitness journey. You always stood by the door, and there was always that transaction, that thank you, that time, that moment, moment of connection that you shared with everybody that entered and exited the room.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
Yeah, no, from the heart and soul, mate. And it's really helped me on my journey. That's a true connection, a true spiritual connection that I have, and a cherished fitness encounter that I've kept with me. So that becomes the legacy, in fitness.
It's amazing how small things can, the small things you do can have big impact. That's a small thing I've done, but it is something that people notice. And it's not, I'm not doing it because people notice it. I'm doing it because I want to connect with people, but it's nice that there's a flow-on effect, and you've had that flow-on effect yourself.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, as a true connector, like, one thing I'm really interested in, like, did you come out of the packet like this?
Yeah, totally. So, I was the kid when I had a paper run when I was a kid, and I was the kid who always got the most tips at the end of the year, but B, a half an hour run took me 90 minutes every night. And admittedly, I was dealing with a lot of elderly people. So I'd go into like elderly kind of council flats, really. And I'd spend 10, 15 minutes with each of the bloody people I was delivering the paper to. And that was when I was like 7 or 8, I just think, and I remember there's this old guy called Bill, and Bill would make me like a dinner every night. It wasn't quite a dinner, but it was, and I'd sit and have the treats for me. And I never thought about it at the time. It was just kind of what I did. But you kind of realize as you get older that these people were actually quite lonely, and a kid's interaction with them every day was actually that probably the only time in their life, or minimal amount of time in their life, where they actually got someone who came and just showed some caring. Now, as a young kid, I wasn't thinking about that, but that prompt reflection, but that kind of liking being around people was just kind of who I am and always has been.
Yeah. Like I say, unrivaled in your enthusiasm for life in general. Like, I find you're one of these guys that just attacks everything at warp speed. And seeing you on a group fitness stage is exactly the same. The energy you emit, and the power and the passion. Like, where does that come from, mate?
Do you know what? I've always been a very high energy person. Like, from day one, I was always the kid who. Here's an example. My mum, when we were going home, this is like from like 5, we'd be driving home. Mum would say, "Bevan, get out the car and see if you can race us home." And she'd get me running beside the car all the way home. Like one of my earliest memories is doing this. So there's something about me which has a lot of energy, and it's just a natural thing, obviously, that I have. And there's people like me out there. Like, I'm not the only person who's got lots of energy. And then, once I found fitness, and I'm kind of the 100% guy. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it 100%. And so with that, I know I always just think. I remember years ago there was this weird member. This guy called, what was his name? I think it was called. I can't remember what it is, but he was out of place in our world. He had a big, before beards were popular, he had this big beard. He wore the wrong clothes. He was this real kind of, he was also a bit of a space cowboy, bit of a kind of a strange character. And, but he was also really quite insightful. And I remember he said, the thing about you is not many people can give what you give when you're in that moment. And I found that the highest compliment, because I think in any type of performance, the most attractive person is the one who gives the most. You look at a rock star at a concert, you look at an athlete in their peak moment. It's, I always think what's attractive, and I think in today's world, image is often the thing that's thought of as attractive. But I think, someone who's passionate, someone who's knowledgeable, and someone who's willing to give a lot, to me, that's actually way more attractive. And not that I'm attractive, but for some reason, I have this ability to go to that place.
Did it take you time, like when you found group fitness and obviously blessed the day that you did it take you time to actually embrace that part of you, in terms of breaking down the barriers of what will people think of me? Am I okay? I know I'm a little bit different. Did it take long for you to celebrate that, or?
No, to be honest, if anything, that was probably the thing that I had at the start. So
Yeah.
My skills were really poor. All I had at the start was a big personality and lots of energy, and then over time I developed the other sides, but I'd already really kind of gone through my transformation by that stage.
Yeah.
So I'd developed myself. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't that I had no self-awareness and I had no kind of fear of rejection around it, but that kind of top end, like I remember my first class, my manager said to me afterwards, Bevan, you're not trying to kill them in the warm-up. Like it's
coming in hot.
And it's, so I think that side was always the bit I had. And I was actually developing other sides, which was probably more of a challenge for me. And even to this day, like I was on the radio the other day on The Rock promoting the book. And I listened to it afterwards. And I'm like, God, I talk fast. It's like, and I don't realize I'm doing it. And I'm probably being a little bit quieter today, or slower today for that reason. But that side, I think, if anything, I've always trusted that side of myself.
Yeah.
And it was more the other sides I had to develop within myself.
We'll be running a version of this podcast at half speed. So for those of you that but I love that about you. And there's this like the intensity that you bring is not overwhelming, it's inspiring, right? And what I really love about you, when you're having a conversation, you really lean into it. We talk about personal space. Some people can break through personal space easy, and I feel you're one of those people. And what I love about you in those space, you don't, the questions you ask have intent. They're not just throwaway. And you also, in return, you're after deep responses. You're not just after moments of reflection or passing, like small passing. I'm trying to find the right terminology for it, but you're not just throwing away compliments. You're not just throwing away questions. You've got a deep intention to go in. And is that a skill you've learned? Because you're breaking through all the bullshit, right? Because that's part of a conversation. First, there's the small talk, but you've got a great way of breaking through that. Is that something you've learned to do, or have you always been just straight to the point?
I think I've kind of have been, but I have learned a lot of skills around communication.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm really fascinated in. I think, when we think about life, like, for example, a lot of people's bad space in their head, like their concerns, their worry, comes from bad communication.
Yeah.
It comes from someone saying something that triggers something within you. It comes from not being able to say the thing that you want to say. It comes from not being able to confront a hard moment. And so communication is a really fascinating skill to develop in life. And it's really fascinating. It's not a skill we really work on in life. Yeah. Like when we think of schooling, you never get taught how to communicate, do you? Like it's, even just the basic thing of trying to understand somebody else's position. It's a really great skill to have around communication. And so as I've kind of gotten older, I've definitely had a conscious effort to become a better communicator in regards to, particularly because what I've learned is the deeper understanding I can have of you, the closer we'll get.
Yeah.
And so, because it's really interesting when you watch conversations. So if you watch conversation, if you're kind of just an observer on the side, what most people, and there's nothing wrong with this, but if let's say you're at a party and a conversation's happening, what tends to happen is I just want to share my bit. So someone will say, I like rugby, and I like rugby too, and here's my story about rugby, and that's cool, because what that's doing is it's showing we're similar, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're trying to go a little bit deeper, you've actually got to go, I want to find out about this person, and then it's just often good questions. People like talking about themselves, and if you can get good questions, and I think one thing you and I always need to acknowledge is that we are in the position of a leader.
Yeah.
And we're also in a position that we get a massive amount of respect because we're good at the thing that people are bad at. So like we're good at exercise. Most people suck at exercise. We're good at being in front of groups of people. Most people are fearful of being. So for these reasons, we get this kind of high level of respect. And so with that, we get a lot of privilege as well. But what's really nice is when you kind of can be open about your own struggles and weaknesses and all the rest of it. That I think because we're in these positions, it almost lets people let their barriers down even more. Yeah. Because I think, we get put on these platforms which are unrealistic, but there's also this cool opportunity that comes with that. And then when you kind of say, oh yeah, I struggle in this area, and they're like, oh my God, and it gives them permission. And then, and then through good communication and just exploring, I love being curious.
Yeah.
Just learning about, and that's what I love most about it. Because I think, what's good about what's good about fiction is you kind of get to experience another life. And I also think great communication does that as well. Yeah. Like if you read a good book, you're really kind of experiencing somebody else's life. Well, great communication, if you really think what's it like to be this person in that position, you actually gain a deeper insight into life. And as much as I might not get to live your experience, at least I'll get a perspective that maybe I wouldn't have seen before. And I think that's really powerful. And then if you understand that I understand you, then we have this really cool bond. And I think that's a really special thing.
Yeah, why is there so much fear around that? Because I guess there's levels of intimacy, in terms of conversations. And intimacy is a funny word. Like intimacy can be as simple as a conversation, the comfort just to even hug someone or hold someone's hand, or a hand on the shoulder, versus extreme levels of intimacy, of course. Why do you think people shy away from even the lowest level or entry level intimacy?
I think it's a trust thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think if anything, the world has not given me many opportunities not to trust people.
Yeah.
Like I've been very fortunate in life. I've never had anything that's scarring happen in my younger years. I can't imagine if you've had sexual abuse or stuff like that. It's a much bigger journey to build trust in other people. And even people just treat me well. Like, I can't remember anyone saying something mean to me to my face. They might talk shit about me behind my back, but at least to my face, they're nice about me. And so it's very easy for me to trust people. So it's very easy for me to go to a place of intimacy because I have that trust. And I think that when we look at great relationships, and what great relationships have is they have trust. And when we talk about trust, is that kind of, there's a few layers to it, but one of them is, I trust you'll be there for me.
Yeah.
When I need you, you're going to be there for me. And it's a really great thing for a relationship to have. Like you and I were talking about some of our children, our kids' struggles before we push record. Now, what you've installed in your children through their struggles, and same me with Tyler, my daughter, is that it's unconditional, man. We're here.
Yeah.
And that's a really important thing to have in life. And I think, and I'm no expert on intimacy, but I think maybe people who struggle with intimacy probably struggle a little bit around trust as well. Because I remember a really good example, actually. I remember when I was younger, one of my best mates called Jared, he'd never really had the deep girlfriend. He'd never really gone, all in. He was a bit kind of not quite, kind of standoffish. And then he met this girl, and he went all in, absolutely fell in love with her, and it was going awesome. And then she had this ex who she kind of hadn't let go of. And like 3 or 4 months later, it fell to pieces. And he never loved again. And then the 10 years I knew him for afterwards, like it's been a long time, maybe years since. But And that moment where he trusted himself to go to a place of being totally intimate with somebody, he got scarred. And I think that's probably got something to do with it. And so for those people who really struggle with intimacy, and I always think when we're trying to develop people, you've got to think about what are your success points. So, you and I, we're really comfortable being intimate. We're really comfortable being touchy. So if you're struggling to, just even open up a little bit to someone, you shouldn't be aiming for our level. You've got to go, okay, what's something that's a little bit risky, but I know I can do. And then to learn to sit at that, that's development pathways, isn't it? But I think, to me, I think it's probably mainly about trust.
Yeah.
Trust. What are your thoughts?
I think you're bang on, mate. I think you're bang on. And without the ability to ask those questions and slowly build that level of trust, and obviously consistency is a key component too, right? Not being there once, but being there all the time.
Yeah.
But getting to know people on a different level, cutting into some of the deeper stuff. If you ask the right questions, you'll be able to see where they sit in terms of how they approach life, maybe experiences that they've had. Some things can come up real quick.
Yeah.
I find the most powerful tool for me, obviously, is just being there and showing that I'm listening intently.
Yeah. And that's a communication thing again, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think people like for you and I, mate, people just assume that we haven't had hard times before because we're like this. A lot of the times this level of energy and enthusiasm and lust for life is built on some bad experiences, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And my story is I was a total dropkick and I turned my life around, and there's many people out there like that, we've all got a story. And it's a human experience.
Yeah, and I think at both ends of the scale, people take that for granted, but it deserves so much acknowledgement of where are you in your journey, where have you come from? And one thing that people aren't great at is acknowledging that was part of their story, and necessary or not, it's crafted them into who they are. With a sum total of moving parts and experiences, and that gives us knowledge, gives us confidence, helps us lose trust at times and build trust in other people.
Yeah. I also think another just thing, as we're talking here, I think another thing that's really important for trust is your own integrity. You're never going to hear me. I never say bad things about people.
Yeah.
I might say things about certain things they do that, but you're never going to hear me just be the gossip shitting on people. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm never not going to betray your trust. I'm never going to, if you tell me something, I'm going to tell anybody else. Yep. So there's kind of a certain level of integrity you need within yourself to actually gain the trust as well. Because if I know I'm going to tell you something intimate and then I turn around the corner, you're talking to someone else telling them that, so there's kind of a bit of integrity within self that comes with that as well. Because if people learn this person's going to keep within this kind of bond we have, that comes with that as well. So I do think that's probably an unwritten, or probably also is really important as well. It's like catching, and it doesn't mean I don't want to gossip, and it doesn't mean there are times where people who do frustrate me and I maybe not like aspects about their personality, that I may want to say something about it. But I just kind of have this thing: if I don't have something good to say, don't say anything at all, or address it with the person. I'll big on that.
100%.
I'll address, and I will do that because I think that's being a leader. That if I've got an issue, if I'm going to tell someone else, the first person I have to talk to is you. And I have done that quite a few times in my life.
Yeah, and the only way we can improve as a group, as a team, as a community, is talking about these things. I'm a firm believer. I talk to the group fit cycle team, wider cycle team. Let's not talk about each other. Let's talk to each other. Let's open a chain of communication where, if we see things that are happening that we don't understand, let's talk about it. Let's flush those kind of things out. That's how we build a relationship. Because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to think and feel and do as we do. We're not necessarily going to understand, but as you've said, asking the questions to helping you understand puts you in their mindset.
Yeah. And go back to that integrity thing. Like, it's easy to gossip. It's easy to talk behind someone's back.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to bring it up. And I think that's why we go with the easy option. I think, like if someone's done something that's pushed you the wrong way, or just whatever, to actually go and talk to that person about that is really tough. And it does take great communication skills, especially to do it with good intent, to do it in a way where you can both work together. There's a real kind of process. And most of us don't do it. Like how many people have, and I've done this too, I'm far from perfect, but that thing you need to bring up and you'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But tomorrow never comes, and so it's that ability to have that integrity within yourself to actually, I was listening to a podcast today and the guy was talking about how in the past he was a real cheat. And ultimately he realized it was just, he was afraid to break up with his girlfriends and he knew he just needed to grow up. He just needed to be a man and go, you know what? I've got to be a man up in this situation and just confront a hard conversation instead of being a horrible person to trying to avoid a situation that I didn't want to go through. So I think integrity is a really important part of it.
Yeah, and integrity can be contagious too, right? So I view myself as probably like you do too, a defender of integrity, because if people see you behaving a certain way, that becomes the norm.
Yeah.
So
I think the other benefit as well is people don't really act like shit around me.
Yeah.
I say this to my runners. I say, when I see you guys, you're always awesome. and you might be shit people outside of this environment, but in our world, you're awesome. And I don't know, I'm not saying that I'm the total reason for that because there's a culture and all the rest of it, but I think people will hold themselves to higher standards. We kind of hold our standards to that level when we're around them. There is a flow-on effect, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, I'd love to talk about actually the extra mile runners, which is a group of people nationwide that you and your lovely wife have built from the ground up, and it's been replicated in many ways, I guess. But the true recipe for success for you is just that passion for people, and having had the fortune myself of experiencing what it is to be a coach.
Yeah.
It was a real snapshot for me, because inside group fitness, you see people that are highly motivated and step into that gym with a second thought, right? The gym membership is nothing to them. They're just, right, I'm in, it's what I do. I go in and I yahoo and I move with people. Coming into an environment where all people wanted to do was just have the ability to gain a little bit of confidence and move, even if it was for a kilometer, that would never even consider or have considered stepping into a gym, because it's basically quite frightening for them.
Yeah. Oh, it's more than frightening. They're paralyzed by it. They can't even go into the environment.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Yeah. Well, and this was really fascinating because I'd started the half marathon group, and we thought, let's try this 5K group. And I just instantly realized I actually don't know how to help these people. And I won New Zealand there 3 times. I was a big global superstar. And then I was like, oh my God, I actually don't know this experience, and luckily we figured it out, but it was that thing of empathy again, wasn't it? Was it like to be that person, and I think it's a really cool thing to do in life, because I think we all live in these bubbles of our own world, and depending on what your world is, that's kind of how you experience life. And again, when we, and if at that time, if you'd said to me, are you a great fitness instructor? I said, mate, I'm awesome. And not, not being cocky, but the evidence just showed that I was really good as a fitness instructor. But I was awesome in one part, but actually I was pretty crap in another part, and then once you start to go, okay, well, this person, what's the problems they've got? Well, they're vulnerable, they're insecure around exercise, they actually really struggle with exercise, both physically and mentally. When they start, they make every mistake possible. And I love this one is, they have a history of failing. It's not that they haven't tried. They've often tried many times and they've failed many times. And it's really important you don't forget that. Because I remember here's a funny story. So years ago, my mates, we go camping we go down Wanaka, down in Glendow Bay every year. And my mates all got boats. I'm not really a boat person, but they all got boats. And they're good mates to have at Christmas time. And they love going water skiing. And the first year, it was quite a cold day. And I'd never water skied in my life. And we're athletes, we tend to pick up movement endeavors pretty quickly. Well, I couldn't stand up. And it became a bit of a joke between the crew. I was finding I can't do something in physical, they kind of give me shit about it. And then the next year, tried again, I couldn't stand up. And then for the next 3 years, I didn't try. Now, I'm a fitness professional who picks up things. And even I quit after 2 tries of feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
And the 4th year I tried, and 4 years later I finally tried and I picked it up. But even that day I was sitting on the bank, okay, have some courage. Now I rock at exercise, I rock at movement.
Yeah.
I'm not overweight, vulnerable around exercise, And I struggled in that way. So what if you are somebody who hasn't moved in a long time, feels like you're really failing with exercise, and have tried and failed in the past? There's not much room for success in that first moment. And that's where, like with our group, the most important session is that first session, because they have to walk away from that first session going, oh my God, I did it, and feeling good about that. If we get that first session wrong, it just reinforces their history, and they'll just fall away. But if we can, and to be honest, the whole journey of Get Up to 5, it's a physical journey, but it's really managing the emotional journey. And what we're really trying to think about is, how do we guarantee they have wins every session? Now, it's not that they will always have wins, but we want to have as many wins as possible, because if they win, they will keep coming back. And whereas if they fail, particularly if they fail 2 or 3 times in a row, you'll lose them. So what we've got to do is we've got to make sure the exercises are level where they're not going to fail. We're going to teach them all the things around the head game to help them be successful. And we're going to guide them through that journey. Now, we're really good at this. We've kind of figured out how to do that. But it was a real learning curve for me.
Do you think, success in modern society, do you think it's too much the top of Everest, where, success is relative to where we are in our journey in life, right? Success for some people is getting out of bed in the fucking morning, but yet we view everything else as a complete failure, because we're bombarded with these visions of high achievers, billionaires, playboy lifestyle. I think online we're a little bit better about expressing more, especially the high achievers, the failure rate, the level of intensity and consistency that it takes to fail repeatedly to be successful, rather than just showing the absolute peak. How do you assist people in helping them redefine what success means? Do you find you have to do that, or does it find itself?
No, you definitely have to do that. And I think the most important thing is you've got to get clarity about where they are right now. And I think that's the biggest problem, because I think what happens is people want to create change and they just think about the end result they want with no consideration of where they are right now. And that leads to lots of big problems, because they get plans that are way too ahead of them. Because when we think of it, let's look at the exercise journey. When we think of the exercise journey, to go from nothing to stage 1, let's say it's 10, let's say you and I are level 10 of exercise, and we are level 10. We're kind of hardcore exercisers, been doing it for years. We'll do it till the day we die. So, and then you're level 1. Well, when we think of the skills you need to develop to go from nothing to level 1, there's both practical and emotional skills you need to develop to be that person. And like for you and I, we've forgotten those skills long ago because they're so ingrained in us, and I think what happens is when people finally have a moment where they want to create change around health and fitness, they think of the outcome they want, but they don't think about where they are in their journey. And like when I was writing my book, this is the real key thing I wanted to focus on, was what are the skills, both practically and mentally, they need to develop in themselves as they work through bringing exercise into their lives. And so like if you're like a 0 with exercise, what are the grade 1 skills? And then how do we actually make sure you're focusing on only those skills at this moment? And it's not to say that you can't become a grade 10, but it's probably unlikely you're going to get to grade 10 without doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of people, when they start any change, is they don't do enough assessment of where they are right now. And then what they then do is then they try to do growth spurts that are just way unrealistic. And they're not really considering the skill sets they're trying to learn around how they're going to develop themselves. And it was interesting, you're talking about, the kind of the Everest thing. Well, to me, the thing we've got to think about is the real thing is am I someone who's always willing to grow? And because the Everest is never really there, there's, you get, everyone says, does running get easier? And it doesn't, because you try to go faster. So you sure, if you go back to the beginning of your running journey when you're doing nothing, going back to there and doing what you did feels easy. But what happens is you get a little bit better and you want to improve. And so, I think the way to look at it is I'm not really trying to hit a peak. I'm trying to be someone who's willing to develop myself long-term in life. And if you can kind of get those, understand where I am right now, and then wise growth points that you can actually succeed in, that are giving you the right foundation, there's a much higher chance you're going to stick at it and feel successful along the way.
Yeah, that expectation that things are going to get easier is interesting, because I actually shared a post from an American coach yesterday on Instagram. My cousin, who's a ex-professional golfer,
Oh, wow.
posted it, and it was, that this is the issue that she was addressing a group of young athletes, basketballers, saying the issue is we're expecting it to get easier, and it never gets easier.
No.
We just get better at dealing with adversity.
Yeah.
We get better at doing hard things, but it'll never get easier, because at a level, you're right. When you start running, you get a little faster. You just want to run faster again.
Yeah. You want to evolve, don't you?
Yeah, same with a high intensity. Intensity is relative to where you are in your journey. So if one person's max intensity on day one of a workout versus someone who's been doing it for
exactly.
5 years repeatedly, it's all max intensity, but at way different levels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Is that having the courage to be someone who evolves. I think that's, like, I'd like to think, I always talk about how in today's world, youth is sold so much. If we think of the Instagram, the social influencers, youth is, and it's probably not just today's world, it's probably always been the case that youth is sold, and nothing wrong with youth. To be honest, it's an interesting time in your life, but the thing we should be selling is wisdom and evolution.
Yeah.
That's what we should, if we're going to hold anything up, it's the people who continually evolve and kind of develop themselves long term, because it's that kind of thing of like, if I'm willing to continue to grow, man, what's 10 years going to look like?
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? Like, that's the kind of shit you want, like, and I'll look older then, but who gives a crap if I know this much more about the things that are important to me in my life? And I just think one of the most important things is we need to then look for evolution and growth, and then put ourselves in situations that allow us to do that. Both, align with where we are on our pathway.
And I think pushing out of it, as I look at the decade after decade and compare it to a parent's generation too, it was, this is you. This is the box you're in. This is your profession for life until you retire. Everything had a time stamp on it.
Yeah.
Whereas we're becoming so great at diversifying and pivoting. Life has many pivots. I've actually been, we were talking about how things are going, and for me, definitely on the upswing with a lot of great, fantastic things that are happening. And I think energy perpetuates energy. Good things start to happen as a byproduct of your own level of energy and intensity.
Yeah.
And expressing gratitude for those opens up other opportunities. And I actually got to a stage, bro, to be honest, where I was out and it was a moment where I was just grateful to the universe, a moment where I actually said thank you.
Wow, that's cool.
Which was kind of weird that I got to that point. It was on a bicycle, of course, because it just liberates my mind and my body when you're out in nature. It's a positive environment and a great experience to be able to express thought.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, what an incredible patch, what an incredible period of life.
Can I ask in that moment, because one thing I've learned, because I do a bit of mentoring, kind of business mentoring for kind of high level people, and one thing I've learned is I know I've done a good job when someone says, I just feel like I'm being me. So in that moment, when you're thanking the universe, did you just feel total alignment?
I guess just everything made sense.
Okay.
Right. I think for a long time in life, you resist a lot of the stuff that happens.
Yeah.
Like you can't make sense of it. You think that things are conspiring against you.
Yeah.
And even positive things, it's the why me.
Yeah.
And all I did, my shift really was focusing on being the best version. And I've talked about it before, not stop continuously trying to compare myself to other people and where they are in their journey, or trying to replicate where they are or be what they are or have what they have. Just be the best possible version of myself in each and every moment, and see where that leads.
Yeah. And it's actually quite a hard thing to do about, isn't it? To not do the comparison.
It's real hard, mate. Honestly, it's real hard because we're drilled into it. We are, I mean, in group fitness, you've always got you see your instructors that you're inspired to do, depending on what you aspire, what level you aspire to do. And you see that as the benchmark, and the assessment is, well, I need to be like that.
Yeah.
The more I talk to the likes of the Glenn Ostergaards and stuff, he's just been authentically true to himself, which is inspirational for me to hear. He says, bro, I'm just out there being myself. I love the shit.
Yeah.
I love it. And
Mm.
every opportunity I have to embrace moments like these just fills my cup. And I'm like, I need to learn from that. And I
I think
just
it's
need
really
to be authentically myself.
And also doing that thing of catching the moments.
Yeah.
Because perspective is everything, really, isn't it? Like I coach our runners sometimes in winter mornings. It's horrible, rainy, and I just go, man, I'm so privileged to be out here in this crazy weather in the morning. Whereas I could be going, on my job sucks because it's so cold and wet and blah blah blah. There's always two sides to the coin, isn't there? And it's that ability to kind of, understand the perspective that puts you in a better place, and consciously at times putting it in, because sometimes you do need to consciously put it in.
It's the old running from the rain type analogy, eh? When it starts raining and we're so conditioned to running from it, but just there's something about just standing in the rain,
feeling life,
feeling life, feeling that water hit your skin, and enjoying the force of nature. And I think there's gravity in those moments too, because it makes you realize, you're just a small little speck on the planet, but you still have impact. Everything you have, the flow and effect. We talk about the bubbles that we have and we interact in. I believe, my purpose is to invite or make everybody that comes into the bubble feel welcome and a part of something, rather than this impenetrable skin that they can't feel as though they can walk through.
Yeah.
I think my purpose is for everybody that walks into an environment that I'm responsible for to feel welcome, to feel cared for.
Yeah.
That's my purpose by far.
That's really important, isn't it? Because what do you think that gives people?
Just confidence, courage, peace at times, power. I think it's empowering and uplifting to see someone who's been authentically true to themselves.
I also think it gives them a sense of belonging.
That's important, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, far out, man. It's so important. But it's so important. To feel a sense of I belong to something it's a human trait. We all need it.
And you're the king of community, eh? Because I look at the class experiences that you have, and everybody's on board. I don't think there's any class in the country/nation that has the buy-in where you'll see a class with you where everybody's dressed up.
Yeah, they get into it, don't they?
But
it's interesting actually, because I've been reflecting lately, and I think I could do a better job. It's interesting. I commit a certain level, but there's more I could commit. Now there's only so much you can commit. But even I've been doing reflection on my business recently, and we talk about our business, our values being growth, community, and fun. That's what it's about. And I think we've done a really good job. But if I really, really challenge it, there's actually a lot more I could do. Yeah. And that's, and that's kind of where I'm starting to put my energy now is, okay, what are the next things? What is that next level that makes people feel a deeper sense of belonging? And then where's my commitment to that? And what would that look like? And that's, I love this idea of that you are intelligent as long as you put the right questions in front of yourself. Like the thing is, we're all good problem solvers. Yeah. When a friend of yours talking about a problem in their life, we have the answer, don't we? You know what I mean? We always have that, and our answers are often pretty right. And so I fundamentally believe people are intelligent, and I get that some people maybe struggle, but generally speaking, we're all pretty intelligent. And the thing we've just got to figure out is what's the right problem for me to be solving. Yep. And then if you put the right questions in front of yourself, you'll problem solve those questions. And so like me with our runners right now, we've got a good community of people. It's a really great group. But I go, well, if we're going to take community to the next level, what would we do? And now my head's starting to go, oh, shit, well, and because I put that question in my head will find the answers. And I trust my intelligence, but also trust the intelligence of people around me, that it is just helping yourself see the right problems to solve and then using the right questions to help put your focus on the solutions that will help you through. That is really interesting. Yeah. I just believe belonging is so important. I think that's one of the biggest problems today.
And the wonderful thing when people walk in an environment like for you, you're a beacon of light, right? And what you do, it's not inadvertently, there's purpose and a method to the madness and the chaos. But what people don't understand is they in turn become a beacon in their communities and their family. Yeah. So a lot of the times, how many, a lot of people listening for the first time when you're getting up at 5 a.m. and people just think you're absolutely nuts. It's the best kind of nuts you can be. It's the
Yeah.
most wonderful, uplifting type of crazy you can be. And it's inspiring. And what I love is that rubs off as well. You're placing these little mini beacons, these little mini versions of you, empowering people to be that beacon, to have the confidence to say, look, I'm loving it, and look at the difference. Because you can't be that. Oh, sorry, go, bro.
No. It's the other thing with that kind of that morning thing, I have this thing, I want to be the dog in your life.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I'm actually not a pet person. The story is I had a dog when I was younger and it died, and so I've never really had, I actually don't have connection to animals. I love kids and people I love, but animals, I just don't have that thing. I get it. We've got a cat. My wife loves the shit out of a cat. But the reason people love dogs, because dogs always want you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You come home, who's happy to see you, your dog? You know what I mean? And that's one of the key reasons. Now, there's obviously more reasons, but one of the key reasons is, and so I want to be the dog in people's lives. I want to be, when I see you, you want to feel, man, this guy really happy to see me here. And not that I'm faking it so you don't want to come to my class. Like I'm genuinely happy that we've got this moment together. And I just think it's easy to put that energy out when we all want to be wanted. And so if you can have people in your life who actually make you feel wanted, that's pretty. And if you can choose to be a person who makes other people feel wanted, then that's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, but for us, I guess it takes time to sit authentically in that and have a genuine intention to learn. Like say, curiosity is a game changer, and embracing curiosity, not being afraid to ask questions, whether they be simple or complicated. In the classroom, it's to sit there with your arms folded because you just don't want to ask the question or you don't want to answer it because you don't want to be called out for it. You don't want to look stupid. I love being in a position where I can ask a question, and if you don't know the answer, how are you going to find out?
Yeah. And again, it's the courage to grow, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm worried about being a fool. You know what? I don't mind being a fool as long as I'm learning here. It's that courage to progress forward. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest things we've got to get to happening in life.
Do you want to be a mushroom or do you want to be a sunflower, mate? I don't know. You can't beat the energy that authenticity brings, eh? And I think just allowing people to embrace and find some piece of energy and then feel more like themselves and start to move in a different way and gain a little piece of confidence.
Yeah.
For me is everything.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love fitness, because fitness changes lives.
Yeah.
When you do get someone who hasn't got fitness in their life and they can manage that part of that journey of bringing it in, it's transformational. Like it really changes lives, and not just because they're healthier and fitter. They build character. They build the thing I love about growth is growth equals possibility. That when I grow, I suddenly think I can do more. Like when you bring any area of growth into your life, what it does is it opens. It's almost like you go up to a higher level and you can see more that you could see before. And that's one of the beauties of growth, is that growth gives you the ability to see more possibility in self. And that's why exercise is such a great journey for people who aren't exercising to go on, because it's so empowering and it's so rewarding and so opens up their possibilities. One of the greatest compliments we get is, Bevan, I'm much better at work because I'm doing this running thing. Or I'm much better at this other thing in my life because I've brought exercise into my life. And what's happened is they've done something that's challenging for them, but they've been managed well. And they go, shit, if I can do this, I can do this over here. And what we've done is we've helped them open up possibility. And it's like, if you are willing to continue to grow, that you can't even see the possibility you can see in the future. And that's really exciting, hey?
Yeah. I mean, we're designed to evolve, right? If human beings as a species weren't designed to evolve, you and I would still be bacteria rubbing together in a puddle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the process of evolution, the movement, and why I know that we are designed to move and our bodies love us moving is the chemical responses that flood through our bodies after a great exercise and a great workout. And body attack's a great example, because I stand in wonder watching people flood out of body attack classes like they are on another level. The level of conversation, the energy, the smiles. It's something truly great about group fitness. And if you haven't done it, just go and stand at the back and watch a class. Be a part of that energy, and I guarantee you just get inspired to move in some way.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's that thing of our body rewards us for the things that are great for us.
Yeah.
Like, you do feel great about yourself after exercise. You do get that buzz, like our body wants us to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of trying to encourage us to do it through the way it rewards us, isn't it?
Yeah. I had a guy in the change rooms actually after class, because I do a double class Wednesday nights with a sprint and RPM double.
Yep.
And I love it so much, just the amount of people that come in, the diversity and the level of connection that we're able to achieve as a group and a community. It's awesome. And there was a guy in the bathroom. He was asking a guy what he did, and he was talking about the class and the cycling experience. And he said, I was going to go do it, but my seat was taken. So I went and did body attack for the first time. And it's like, oh my God, my body is just. And I said, well, they call it attack for a reason. Yeah. Isn't it amazing that your fitness journey has actually given you the confidence to step into an environment where you had no idea what you were doing?
Yeah.
And that you're in a environment, in a building, and within an organization that has so many options for you.
Yeah.
But you couldn't do what you wanted to do, but all you had to do was step through another doorway.
And be willing to be the person who's going to do that. Yeah, that's really cool, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love the opportunity to actually give people a level of confidence, whereas, like we say, that people have a fear of even setting foot outside a door and looking up and seeing that sign. Can be so very hard for them, seeing the marketing material that potentially isn't designed for them. But when they get inside, there are people who truly are connected and care at a level that they would never expect.
Well, and that's so, like this book I've written, it's that's what I'm trying to address is how do they win those first steps? And so, for example, so the book's called I Will Make You Passionate About Exercise. And basically, there's 10 baby steps in it. And what I'm really, because when you look at people who have a lifetime love of exercise, what are they? They see common traits. First of all, they prioritize exercise in their life. Secondly, they've got a movement they love. They've got a movement they love. Thirdly, they've got a community in that movement.
Yep.
They've got a community in the movement they love. Fourthly, they go on growth pathways. They have these growth moments. They have these kind of, they'll do a challenge, then they learn through the challenge, and then they kind of reflect upon that challenge. And then what starts to happen is their identity tells them they're an exerciser. That, you and I, if we're not exercising, we feel dissonance. Like I actually I have a day off a week. We'll go for a walk. But other than that, I haven't had 2 days off exercise. I had a back operation last year, but outside of a back operation in 20 years. Now, I'm healthy with it. When I was younger, I was probably a little bit unhealthy with it. I'm healthy with it nowadays. But if I don't exercise, I feel agitated. I feel
you there, mate. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And also, I see myself as an exerciser. So these are the things that people who love exercise all share. So the question I had to think to myself is, how do I get somebody who's not there? How do I get those things in their life? And then how do I layer that? And so, like the first chapter, the first thing they need to learn is basically each chapter has a story, a lesson. Then there's actually a challenge, because what I've learned is change happens from experience.
Yeah.
Or inner belief happens from experience. So I could tell you can do it, but actually it's not till you've experienced a new version of yourself where you'll believe it. And I learned that from our Get Up to 5 group. So our people who join Get Up to 5, they join us because they see we've helped people like them. Most of them join thinking they're not going to run 5K. Most of them think they're going to fail. Then after about 6 weeks, it's an 8-week program. After about 6 weeks, they come up to me and say, Bevan, you're not going to believe it, but I see other runners and I think I'm like them. And what's happened there is they've shifted their self-perception.
Yeah.
Because now when they see someone on the street running, they think, I'm one of those people. And what we've done, and why have they gotten to that place? Well, they've had these experiences for the last 6 weeks, which is shifting their inner belief about themselves. So when we think about the way I've done the book is you've got to have these experiences which are going to shift your belief, but they've got to be layered on the learning you need to have. So basically each chapter has a lesson, a challenge, which is a journey you need to go on for the next period of time. And then I've given you the rules, strategies, and mindsets, which will help you be successful on that challenge. So like the rule number 1, the first lesson is learn how to get out the door with the right attitude. And what the whole point of this is, you've got to learn to put it in your life.
Yeah.
And until you can actually fit it in your week, it's never going to happen. And I often say this to people who think about joining our program is there's always a good reason not to start today. And often it's justified. It is busy. You are going on holiday soon. You have got the kids right now, but there's always going to be a good reason not to start tomorrow because there'll always be something else tomorrow. So the first thing we're going to get you to do is decide to make this change. But then once we're going to do that, we're going to make sure you're learning the right lesson. And the first lesson you need to do is how do I fit it into my week? How do I prioritize it? Now, when we think about that around a beginner, well, what are the barriers they're going to face? Well, one of the barriers they're going to face is they're fearful of the exercise and they're worried it's going to be hard. So in that chapter, one of the rules is the exercise has to seem almost stupidly easy, both physically and mentally. Because if you're thinking it's going to be hard, there's less chance you're going to do it. Whereas if I say to you today, and if you're someone listening to this, if I say to you today, do you think you could do 5-minute walks this week? Of course I can, but that's not enough. I'm not going to get results. So then the next rule is you're not allowed to measure the physical results. Because at this stage, we're not actually trying to get your physical results. We're trying to get you into the habit in your week. So the only thing we measure is did you get out the door? And that's what we learn is what are those tools that you need to learn to get out the door? Like you and I, we know how to pack our bag the night before. We know how to, when the alarm goes off, we know the mindset we need to get out of bed. We know, and those are skills these people need to develop. And so I basically thought of what are those layers that they need to think about, but also what are the barriers that someone who's a beginner is going to face as they work through this journey, and then what strategies are going to help them be successful. And then, so then at the end of that period, they've basically done 12 exercise sessions in a month. What they've really learned is how do I fit it into my week? How do I get out and do 3 sessions a week and all the planning that goes around that? So we've set up that first layer. Then we go, okay, well, if you want to be motivated, we've got to find a movement you love. Because if you go find a movement you love, there's a much higher chance you're going to stick at exercise. Like you love cycling, don't you?
Of course. Yeah. With a passion. Yeah.
Yeah. And you so much you think in the world when you're out on a bike ride, like you love cycling and I love running. Like I love the gym as well, but mate, I live in the hills, going for a run, pumping music, being in nature, fun, running fast, I'm in heaven. Now, the thing about movement is there's a million different movements and a million different people love those movements. So if we can help you find a movement you love, one of the biggest pieces of exercise gets out of the way because motivation is no longer hard because you want to be doing the movement. But in that chapter there, I've also got to consider, well, I'm going to have to put you in environments where you're trying movement. I know you're going to be vulnerable and insecure, and you're probably thinking everyone's looking at you. So I've got to give you the tools and strategies that allow you to be successful around that. Then from there, well, now we've found your movement, we've got you prioritizing it. We've got to find your community. Because if we can give you into a community where you feel a sense of belonging, that's the next piece of the motivation piece, which is absolutely huge. So, and when I talk about community is you've got great leaders, like great leaders who understand someone like you. You've got, there's a sense of belonging in the community. You talk about your class, everyone comes along and you make them feel belonging. That's your class is a great community. And I guarantee anyone who new comes into your class, pretty quickly they feel part of your community. And that's because you're a great leader who's creating a community around your class. And all movements have great communities within them. There are also bad ones. There are also exercise facilities and providers who aren't that good at community. And I talk about this in the book. People think convenience is a motivator. So you may think to yourself, you know what? I've tried everything, and I really enjoy boxing. And there's 3 boxing gyms in my city. And one's 5 minutes away. So I'm going to join that one because it's close to home. And because it's close to home, I won't have a barrier. Well, convenience isn't a motivator. If the one that's 30 minutes away, actually I was up in Wellington a few weeks ago talking to Rach, Rach, and she was talking about, there's a guy in Wellington who's doing a hip hop step class. Have you heard of this?
No.
I think it's out in the Hut. He's doing like a hip hop step class.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. And I think it's kind of like 90s music, kind of old school hip hop.
No, I know. John.
Yeah, okay.
John Money.
Well, apparently there's a lady who drives 40 minutes each day to do his class.
Amazing.
That's a community, eh?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And that's what we've got to get people to find. We've got to get them to find a community where you've got that level of belonging, because it's worth driving an extra 25 minutes because you'll keep driving back. Whereas if you choose convenience, it's actually not convenient because you're not going to go back. And so this is what I'm trying to do in this book, is I'm trying to give those lessons through experiences which are well guided for people who have struggled, so they know how to actually navigate through those lessons. And the whole idea is that It's the books basically, each challenge is probably about a month long. Some of them are a little bit longer, but basically it's like a year journey. But if you follow the pathway of this book, then you'll start seeing change quickly because instantly you're going to start moving. But in a year, you'll have set the foundation to actually be a lifetime lover of exercise. And that's what it's all about. You know, we've got to get people to where we are, where it's not just yo-yo. It's actually, I know how to exercise in my life for the long term.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about fashion, should it? You know, we move in and out, and this feels comfortable. This is cool. I'll do this, but it is lifestyle. Like I say, we're designed to move. Mate, that book, you can say it's a lifetime in the making, right?
Yeah,
but
definitely it is. But
from go to woe, and I know you would have poured your absolute heart and soul and everything you have into this, which I think is amazing. And the fact, I just commend the bravery that it takes for you to put that passion and those words down on paper.
Do you know what? It has been really. I my insecurities in life are a little bit around position. Sometimes I'm fearful of losing position, which is an insecurity I always have to work through. Yeah. I have a little bit of insecurity around finances, which is stupid because I've actually made my money, but I was poor when I was a kid. So it's something I always have to work through. Yeah. And this has been quite an insecure experience for me as well, because you know, as you say, I've seriously spent 10 hours a week for 2 years on this, 10 to 15 hours a week for 2 years. Now, I'm very lucky that I have a life where I can do this. And I can do this in a way where if it doesn't sell one book, it's not going to affect their life. You know, I'm in a position in life. I invested well when I was younger. So I'm in a position in life. And we chose to self-publish the book for reasons I can talk about if you want to. But so we use a publishing company, but you pay. So we've basically spent like $40,000 on the book. I've spent 2 years. It's probably been $150,000 project. It could go nowhere, and there's a real high chance that's the case. You know, like lots of books go nowhere. Now, admittedly, it's going really well at the beginning, so that's encouraging. But there's a lot of fear around that, because there's a lot of insecurity, you know, like you want to succeed in this thing and you've given so much time and energy into it. And I remember last week, because I kind of, you know, we finally finished everything. And it was kind of like 2 days before we're putting it out there. And you're like, what if it sells nothing? You know, and the thing I've always got to go back to is I'm very lucky that I'm in a position in life where I can be the guy who does the passion project. Yeah. You know, like this is a passion project, and I can put time and resource into something which potentially could go nowhere. But B, I fundamentally believe in the thing I'm trying to put out there. Like people need to be moving, and not enough people are, and we haven't got great solutions for them. And so I do believe there's a massive need for this. And so as even if it does go nowhere, which first signs are showing it is going to go somewhere, which is really great, but at least I fought the right fight. Yeah. You know, at least I tried to make it work on that front. And it's really important, because our lives are better if we've got movement in it, and not enough people are moving. But also when they try to bring movement in, they don't actually have a plan that can help them. And that's the gap I wanted to fill.
Yeah. And it's amazing too to hear you say that, because there's a level of confidence that's required to actually get to a state where you're prepared to do something like a book, as brave as a book, to put your words down and be the expert in a world of experts, right? Because everybody does have an opinion. Everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. But I can guarantee people, if you are in a position where you need some motivation, or even better, like we say about being a beacon of hope within your family or community, like if you know someone who needs a boost, who you think deserves the level of attention and care of an absolute legend, an expert like Bevan, to just get them on a pathway to having a richer, more energetic, more fulfilling life, to empower them just to embrace everything that life has to offer and be the best version of themselves, then get them the book, right? Then get them the book.
I'm going to talk to two people here. First of all, the person who's sitting on the fence not exercising.
Yeah.
Because I actually think the hardest decision they need to do is make change. I think that's the hardest decision, because again, there's always a good reason not to start. And if you're listening to this right now and you're not exercising, what I'm doing is saying, the book's $37. Come on, it's a dinner out. You know, you can afford it. You know, I get that there might be a certain level of society who can't afford $37 on a book. but it's a very small level. And even those who may be struggling financially, I guarantee you probably waste $35 on something in your week. And it's not because I'm trying to make money off you, because here's the thing, I was telling you before about why we self-published. We self-published because we want to control the business model. And what that means is, when I published a book a few years ago, and basically you make like $3 a book, you know, because the publisher takes all the risk, but they kind of make all the money as well. And I'm not complaining, that publisher was great, all good. Whereas with this book, we make a lot more money per book. So we make the majority of the profit. But what we're doing is every dollar we make, we're reinvesting to try to get more people to buy the book. Like we're not going to be taking money out of this book, because the purpose of the book is to get as many people moving as possible. So basically, every dollar we make, now at this moment we're trying to collect the money, and then about 3 weeks from now we'll actually go to see a marketing company and figure out how we can market the book to get people to buy it. But basically that's what we're going to do. So first of all, make a decision to make a change, and then ideally this book's a really good plan to follow, which will help you be successful in that. Because again, what most people do is that they make a decision and then they make all the wrong decisions. And they go back to their place where they end up just quitting and saying, oh, I don't like exercise, I can't be successful, instead of going, actually, maybe I just didn't have a good plan. And then secondly, if you are someone who is moving, and I know obviously you've got a lot of fit people who listen to this, is if you can support the book, it'd be really great. And the way you do it is you could get it and read it yourself, because you'll probably find, like, it's interesting, I was doing my podcast with a triathlon, I do a triathlon podcast, which I've been doing for years. And the other guy's like one of New Zealand's top triathlon coaches, and he said, I wouldn't know where to start with beginners.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of fit people don't actually know that beginner experience. So if you want, you could read it yourself, but point people towards it. You know, because we've all got people in our life who need health and fitness. And one of the problems for fit people is unfit people don't listen to us because they don't think you understand them.
Yeah.
You know, like Adam Moore, he's just stupidly fit. He doesn't get my life. You know, and so what I'm trying to do is trying to say, well, look, I may not understand, but this book seems to be a really good thing that you could look at. And the thing that's really important for the book is that someone can pick it up and go, I can do this. You know, I was inspired by a guy called Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is a kind of America's biggest financial advisor. Content creator, he's huge. And what Dave Ramsey does really well is he makes people think that you can do what he advises you. And so it gets you on the pathway, and he grows you in that wise pathway. And that's what, when you read the first chapter of this book, again, do you think you can do 3 5-minute walks a week for 4 weeks? You know, and even what if you've got bad knees? Well, do you think you could jump on a stationary bike for 5 minutes? Yeah. Well, and then if you use my rules and strategies, I can get you there. And that's so important. So, you know, those would be what I'd say around the book. And the website is www.passionaboutexercise.com.
Passionaboutexercise.com.
Yeah.
And it's making those levels of success accessible, right?
Yeah. Really
understanding the victory and just what we may view as minute achievements, but they are significant.
Well, so like in the chapters, one thing I talk about in the chapter is, like that first chapter, is you're not going to have a yes but. You know, people who are unsuccessful with exercise are really good at yes buts. So they're doing well. Yeah, but I'm still not where I used to be. Or yeah, but my mate's better than me. Or yeah, but I'm still struggling to get out the door, even though they're getting out the door and being successful.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the lessons these people need to learn, is how do you overcome the hurdles that are going to stop you from being successful? And, you know, there'll be things in the future I'll go, I wish I could have added to this, but generally speaking, I think I've got the majority of the things that people need to be able to do that. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
It's that quality of one more. I saw that recently on another podcast. The guy was talking about his father, who was an alcoholic, but his whole thing was just one more day. And his son was on the verge of giving up a lifetime dream, chasing a business that had poured his passion into. And he was going, Dad, I've had enough. I've just got to give up. And he said, mate, just give it one more day.
Yeah.
And he said, when you get to the end, just give it one more day. And he did. And it was 7 years ago, he said. Each day he got to that point, and it became, and again, never became easier, but the absolute resolution to keep going, to keep pushing. And as I say, mate, one more day could be one more minute, one moment in a conversation, could be 1 minute of exercise, could be one footstep after another.
Yeah.
Could be one, mate, could be one purchase of a book. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what I love about a book is that it's a constant reminder. Like, you put it on your shelf and it'll be there for you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to file it and forget it. It can be sitting on your shelf. It can be sitting on your table. You can go and grab it at any stage in life and you can do a hard reset, because life's full of
Yeah.
second chances, right? And the opportunity
Yeah.
just to reinvent yourself. And
Yeah.
I firmly believe that this book gives everybody the opportunity to do that. And for you to be able to put that down in words, bro, like an outstanding achievement. And I think knowing your story and a lot of people that know you potentially don't know where you've come from, and the fact that you did basically come from rock bottom. You had a period in your life that was as dark as it can be.
And the thing about that, now, like, I'm far from perfect, and I've got my struggles, so I don't want to make it that I'm perfect. But like, I couldn't spell. Like, it's funny because I overcame drugs and alcohol, but the thing I'm most proud of is I remember I started writing for my local newspaper, and that's probably one of the proudest days of my life, because I couldn't spell the. And I'm far from the perfect spelling nowadays. I'm pretty good, and my grammar's average, but I couldn't spell the. Like, I remember going to the doctor when I was about 18, 19, going to the doctor, and they gave you the forms to fill out. And I couldn't spell my street name. I could spell my name, and that was it. And I had to go up to the desk and say, "Oh, excuse me, can you please, my street name is this." Highly embarrassed, like shame. Yeah. Spelling's kind of like walking. Everyone can do it. No, that's not true. Not everyone can do it. But like, I just had no basic life skills. And, and then within 6 years, because I did spelling lessons with Reader Rabbit, which is like a kids program after work, with 5-year-olds sitting next to me.
Yeah.
And then, 5-6 years later, I wrote a piece for my local newspaper, and I'll never forget that day. I opened the paper and I wrote a piece, and it's like, it's just that thing that if you're willing to grow, you can overcome your hardest things. And it's such an, even if you're listening to this right now, in your toughest moment, there is a way forward if you're willing to do the work around it. And that to me is one of the most powerful messages of life.
And I guess it's true what they say: the darker it gets, the brighter the light at the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing is, what's amazing about that is if you can overcome your biggest things, everything else seems way smaller.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I gave up drinking and drugs, and I was 24/7, not good. I remember going out dancing the first time sober, and you're so self-aware, and you think everyone's looking at you. And then you get up and you kind of, you do kind of a sideways shuffle for one dance. And then you realize eventually everyone's pissed. They're not even thinking about you, But what happens is you get put in these situations where you have to grow. And with that comes confidence. Eventually I was nowadays, not that I go out dancing a huge amount, but I'm often the first guy on the dance floor. Like, I've been at concerts and people go, "What are you on, mate?" And I'm like,
I know. Every day of your life, Bevan. Let's face it. What are you on, mate?
So I just think, if you're willing to work on the hard stuff, and I do think you need good people around you, and you do need good plans. It's not just, hey, I want to work, because I think, you need to be wise in how you approach it. But if you are willing to do and work on the hard stuff, and you are wise in how you approach it, it's pretty exciting your future ahead.
Just the confidence to be yourself, and no one's better at it than you, eh? Like, inherently that energy that surges through you, it is infectious and contagious, and it is absolutely inspiring. It's awe-inspiring to see you in your element. And I love that. And I've always been continuously inspired by every interaction, mate. So I just want to say thank you for the part that you've played in just being, I'd say, a rock for me, and in terms of a role model. And like I say, you're open about the fact that nobody's perfect.
Yeah, no, far from it.
Nobody is. You've learned so much, and you've continued to evolve. You've had this maintain this curiosity and this level of energy, and your capacity to love others is unrivaled, and your enthusiasm. Like, I love what you said, bro. Be the dog. Be the dog, and that sums you up to a T.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mate, I've kept you for a long time.
I just want to say, I've got to give you some love back, mate. Adam, as much as you're very generous to me, and it's very nice, thank you very much. Mate, you do great work. Mate, you're very special what you do, and
thank you.
You're caring for people. Like, you're such a character. you're such a funny guy. If you get a chance to hang out with Adam, you're always going to have a good time because he just knows how to have fun in life. And I think in many ways that's probably what you're best known for. But no, I don't know if that's true. But you're definitely known for that because you're bloody funny. But your genuine caring for the people in your world is such a beautiful thing to have, and I guarantee you probably don't even comprehend how important that is to the people in your world. So keep being you, mate.
Thank you, mate. That means a lot. Yeah, you just get busy doing you, and like time for reflection, I think, is important. And for me to stop on that bike ride and say, "Fuck," you know what? To be happy with where you are as a byproduct of being who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Yeah. Fuck, what's better than that?
Exactly. I love it.
It's just so liberating, and it shows that all of the hurdles that you have to jump over, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And all of those moments where you hesitate, I don't want my children to live a life where they're full of what ifs. I want them to fucking go for it.
Yeah.
And like you say, at the end of the day, they know that they've got people like us in their lives that they can lean back on if they need to.
Yeah.
But all we're going to say is just lean back into life and fucking go for it, because it's a pretty incredible world. And having the great thing about the industry that we live in, we have people, we understand that there are people like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's such solidarity, talking to Mara and Celerio about the solidarity and purpose that just flows through us. And when you connect and you're just fuck, I love when you can, sometimes there's solitude involved in just trying to be who you are, but then you realize there's a whole lot of other people out there that are exactly like you, that are in tune, that are just fucking going for it and living a life that they hope, that we hope will inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, it's awesome, eh?
That's what hype is, mate. And I just get goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah, I love it.
Do you know, I just get goosebumps talking about it. Bro, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and this is a moment where you get to shine. If there's one piece of advice or wisdom or something that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners prior to our departure from this podcast, that would be amazing.
I love the saying, keep being you. I love that saying. And if you're hearing that right now and you feel a bit of dissonance because of that, it probably means because you're not being you. And when you feel you're losing yourself as a person is when you're moving away from that core of who you are. And I think if I just say to you, keep being you, you know what that means. You know what I mean? Like anyone listening to this right now, if you just hear me say, keep being you, and you would be just authentic to that. I think most of us know. There might be some people who are a bit lost, but I think generally speaking, most of us know what that is. And that's a really nice way to live your life is, if I just keep being me, I'm going to be all right. And it's a really, if I'm going to share anything, it'd be just that.
I love that, bro, because when you're in a situation or in an environment or in company where you're not being yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And you're finding you have to be someone else or take on certain traits that just aren't you. And you can feel it, right? It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally.
So have the bravery to step out of it. It's okay to leave people behind. It's okay to leave groups behind.
It's important. Yeah.
Because it's about being the best version of yourself. And if you're not in an environment that allows you to do that, or people that accept you for it, then move. Totally. Find a group, find a community. Bro, an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. Like appreciate you as a human being, first and foremost, as a group fit instructor, as an author, just a high level operator in everything that you do, and it's inspiring to me and many others. Peeps, if you can get out there and certainly buy the book, purchase the book, or go on the website, that would be amazing. I'm going to purchase the book. I'm going to give a book away to one of our listeners or viewers. I'll put that on the page. Absolutely. Right. And certainly I'll buy a couple of copies, because I know that there are people in my life that will benefit from this as well as benefit from this. But it's also great to have solidarity, mate. I want to wish you all the very best for the book, for your endeavors. I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, what's next is trying to get as many people moving. So hopefully there's future endeavors in front of me, but at this next moment, it's just, let's get this thing happening. Because again, if this book gets people moving, how cool would that be?
Let's all embrace it. Let's be the dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
I'll
all
start
be
licking you.
that one time, actually. That one time. Yeah. Let all be the dog. If you can be anything, as always, be kind first to yourself, and it puts you in pole position to be kind to everybody and everything that you touch. Nothing is more inspirational. Again, be brave enough to be you. There's no one like you on the planet. You're one of a kind, and we fucking love you for it. Until next time, this is episode number 46 with Adam and Bevan James Eyles. Thank you so much. Peace and love as always. Take care. See you, team.